Yes. Good evening, and thank you for joining, taking part in our third opening discussion. I hope this has been as helpful for you as it has been for me. Quite a few questions from last time came up that I was unable to answer or wasn't sure about, so I was able to go back, get an answer for that. I'll be sharing those with you tonight. But I just want to thank you again for doing that, because we do our best to try to think of everything, but we don't always think of everything, and having people ask questions, and it creates some thought for us, and that's a great thing. What I'm going to do is first talk about or share with you the answers from those questions from last time and a few other things, and then I will open it up to questions. And then again, you can type your question into the live chat box on YouTube. So the first question was, it wasn't actually a question, it was an answer that I couldn't give you last time. I mentioned last time about contact tracing. What if someone does become positive? Prior to yesterday, it was if you were within 6 feet for more than 10 minutes, then you were part of the contact tracing and you would also be quarantined. That now has been changed. It's now called proximate tracing. And there's two ways to be part of that now. 6 feet for 10 minutes again, or if you're in the same room for somebody for more than 60 minutes. So that obviously is going to impact our elementary. They're in their room together, actually pre-K through 8, because those students are together all day long. So anyone tests positive pre-K to 8, the entire room will be quarantined for 14 days. High school, again, public health will do that. They will contact trace, and if anybody's been in a room at the same time for more than 60 minutes, they will also be quarantined. So the last question was last time was asked, what will arrival and dismissal look like? And I didn't have a real good answer for that, but we spent the last 2 days really spending a lot of time talking about that. And you'll be getting a document on Parent Square by the end of next week that will give you all the details to that plan, because that's, I'm sure, important to a lot of people. Where do I drop my kid off? Where do I pick them up? And how's that going to work? And speaking of Parent Square, if anyone does not have a Parent Square account, certainly encourage you to get one. That's how we communicate everything. That's how you can communicate with me, with the principals. That's how you can send in questions. That's how we do our surveys. Everything we do now is on Parent Square. So if you're new to the district and you don't have an account, please call school and we will certainly set you up with that. So a little, before that document comes out, I'll just give you a little idea of what arrival and dismissal will look like. So the buses will arrive at 8, just like they have been in the past. The students will be released from the bus. They will already be temperature checked before they get on the bus. And then they'll go either to, if they're high school, they'll go to their homeroom. And if they're in elementary, then they'll just go to their classroom. All 612 non-bus students will arrive at 8 o'clock, and there'll be 4 locations for them to enter the building. They'll be temperature checked, and again, they'll go to their homeroom. All pre-K 5 non-bus students will enter at 8:15, and again, they will use the same 4 locations. Temperature check to their classrooms. What we're trying to do is we anticipate a lot more people driving to school and not riding the bus, and we're trying to spread that out. So number one, it doesn't take a long time, and number two, there's not any large gatherings at any point. So, and I hope after, as I mentioned last time, we're going to take the first 4 days to practice. I hope during that time everybody can get comfortable to kind of going to the same place. You're going to get a map in that packet that's going to show you the 4 doors, and we're going to have them labeled, pre-K 1, 2, 5, and then 7 or 6, 12. Where you can enter, and hopefully the traffic flow. And what we plan to do after that is just adjust. If it doesn't work well, we'll make small adjustments with that and ask people to go to different places. So dismissal, that's another issue that we have that we've talked a lot about. So we're going to dismiss the same way we come. We're going to dismiss to 4 locations. Obviously, bus students will get on the buses. The teachers will deliver the students to those places. And mentioned last time, what if I have a K and a 3? You can certainly use either one of the places on the map. You don't have to drive around the building. So they will, the pre-K through 5 will start dismissing staggered from around 2:25. and we'll dismiss one class at a time so there's not a lot of people in the hall at the same time. The teacher will walk them by the door of each of the locations, ending at the bus. And for 612, everyone will dismiss at 2:37, again staggered, and they will not be obviously taken to the bus or out of the school. They can do that all by themselves. We are asking that parents stay in or close to your car. Rather, I know in the past you've come into the front hall and waited for them to walk by. We ask you now to stay in your car, and we will deliver the students to the door. And obviously for littles, if you want to walk up the sidewalk or come to the sidewalk to meet them, that's fine. But I think what we're trying to do is, number one, not get many people in the building, and number two, not having large congregations of people waiting outside the door. And obviously when winter comes, a lot of people aren't going to want to congregate outside the door. And again, I hope in the first 4 days we'll kind of get a feel for what that looks like, and you can kind of pick the time that works best for you. For instance, if you come right at 8:15 and it's packed, next day you might want to wait till 8:20 and see if the crowd's a little less at that time. And if we have to adjust after those first 4 days and do it differently, maybe create more time and say 8 to 8:15 for high school and 8:15 to 8:30, we'll make those adjustments after those first 4 days. Another question that was asked last time, if my older child is picking up a sibling, where do they meet? I thought a lot about that, and I think I'll let those two figure that out, the older sibling. And the older sibling could even go down and take the younger sibling out of the line as they were walking out to their space. So I'm going to let them figure that out. They'll pick a spot in the school that they'll meet and then go where they need to go. So there was a question last time about live streaming a classroom and what does that look like, and some concerns about that. So different than what we're doing tonight, where pretty much anybody wants to log on to our YouTube live can get on and watch this. We certainly don't want that to happen in the classroom. So we'll be using Google Meet, which is secure, only available on our domain. The only concern we have is, if a parent were in the background watching with their child, we really don't want them watching the rest of the kids in class. So the camera will just be on the teacher. And if the teacher moves, and I mentioned this last time, the live streaming isn't going to be the best solution for us. Coming to school and being in the classroom is better. Totally respect and understand everybody that doesn't want to send their children to school. Not a problem, but it's not going to be as great. So if the teacher does move away from the front of the room, they will actually they'll lose sight of the teacher, still be able to hear, but will lose sight. So if anybody's concerned about someone watching their kids on camera, they won't be able to see them, and it will only be people in our domain that will be on. And the teacher does have the ability to kick anybody out of the classroom anytime they want. So if they see a name that they don't recognize, they can certainly remove that person from the classroom. There was a question last time about DL, and what do DL kids do that have class at 8 o'clock? So what we're going to do is let them enter the building at 7:50. So they'll come in, get temperature checked, go to the DL room, get settled in, and start their class at 8 o'clock. I thought a lot about this too in the last couple of days. We're obviously going to screen everybody, temperature check them here. I highly recommend that you do that screening at home if you can, because if they come here and we have to send them home, the protocol is that they have to get a doctor's note, a negative test, and be asymptomatic before they can come back to school. So that could be up to 7 to 10 days before they can come back if they go home and they might have a stomach ache, headache, or a sign of COVID. So I know in the olden days when I used to go to school, my parents would say, get up, you're fine. I might lay in bed and say, I don't feel good, I have a headache. And they'd scream and tell me to go to school. That has changed. If your child wakes up with any kind of those symptoms, unfortunately, you might have sent them to school in the past. I highly recommend you don't, because if we have to send them home, like I mentioned, it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. So the more screening you can do at home, the better. Temperature check, or just ask them, do you feel okay today? Do you feel like when you get to school you might want to ask the teacher to go to the nurse? If they say, well, I don't know, I don't feel great, I might. My suggestion would be to keep them home. That way They wake up the next morning, they feel fine, they have no symptoms, you're going to school the next day. Or maybe they stay home 2 days rather than 7 to 10 days. So please do that. And I encourage teachers to do that as well. It certainly would be easier for us if you come to school and when you get here you don't feel well and you ask for a sub. It's hard for us to find a sub in a short period of time. If you temperature check yourself at home and can call Rachel at 6 o'clock, a lot easier for us to get you a sub. And the last question that I think there was some confusion on last time about BOCES. What I meant to say, and if I didn't, I apologize, that all of our students will be going to BOCES 5 days a week. There are some programs that aren't allowing 5 days a week. None of our students are in any of those programs. So I think I addressed everything that was asked last time. So now I will ask Tony to fire some questions at me. And again, I hope I learn as much as you do from these.
Okay. So first question asks, if there ends up being a closure for Jefferson County schools, how will that affect our BOCES kids that are going to Watertown?
So if schools close and go totally remote, that's going to be a decision from our governor. Right now, he's letting schools make the choice based on if they can bring students back to school safely. And again, some are doing it in a hybrid manner, and some are doing it with everybody back like we are. If schools are completely closed and we're told to go completely remote, then all Jefferson and Lewis County schools will be going to BOCES remotely.
Okay. Next question. Will the PM BOCES kids who go to Glenfield and Watertown still be getting their lunch to eat on the buses?
Correct. They will, just as before. They'll go down, pick it up, go to the BOCES bus. Times have changed a little bit because our schedule has changed a little bit, and those will be certainly put out in plenty of time for them to know.
Let's say a parent needs to pick up their kid for a doctor's appointment. Do they still enter the school and go to the attendance office?
Yes, correct. Masked, of course. Have to have a mask on when you come in school. And yes, attendance office, and that will be as far as you can get.
Are we hiring any more staff this year for temperature checks or for teaching purposes?
So we're repurposing some of our teachers that don't have anything first period. Some of our aides can be a little bit late to class. And we have I think right now, a group of 11. And if you're watching and you're one of them, I haven't let anybody know who that is yet. But we have enough people, at least to start, to have 3 people at a testing station of one of the 4 stations. We will know more as time goes on. We may not need 3 people at each station. It may move faster than we think. As for adding any staff, we haven't added any staff at this point. Again, we're going to wait and see what happens. We may need additional custodial staff if cleaning becomes a problem. So at this time, we don't think we're going to have to, but if we have to, we certainly will.
Okay, very good. What rooms will middle school students be using?
Ask me that in a second again. I want to finish on that question. I had another thought. People are probably going, well, who's teaching this 3rd section of 2nd grade or 3rd grade, or all the sections that we've split into 3? So we've been fortunate to have certified teachers that are doing intervention math, intervention reading, and some other things. So we've been lucky to have those. A couple of classrooms will have a teacher aide, and the instruction will be delivered remotely, and the teachers will rotate through, so that one section doesn't always have the aide. They'll rotate through. So apologize for missing out on that, but that's why we did not have to add any additional staff.
Middle school kids, what rooms will we put them in?
So they're going to be in the same rooms they were in, except, and don't quiz me on this later, I think one section of 7th grade is going to be in what we call our makerspace room. That was a big class, and we didn't have a big enough room for that 3rd section. So they'll be in the DL room that's across from the library. That holds a lot more students.
Very good. Let's say a parent needs to drop off medication to their student. How will they go about doing that?
So I think I got that one early, and they were wondering how they did that ahead of time if the nurse wasn't here. I think that came to me maybe on Parent Square today. If that's your question, call school at any time. Any one of us can take it, get it into the nurse's office, contact the nurse, let them know who it's from. If it's during the school day or during the school year, again, you can come right to the main, not the main office, the attendance office through the front door, and Harley will take care of it from there.
School lunch, will they be on trays or will they be in sacks?
They will, high school potentially in trays, definitely elementary is going to be in styrofoam containers that have lids. We realize traveling from the cafeteria back to class, especially for our littlest ones, could be a challenge. So we are going to put them in styrofoam containers that do close. I'm not sure. I'd have to talk with Nicole Granchine, our food service, whether we're doing trays or styrofoam for high school as well.
Okay. How about art class? Will art classes continue to be in the art classrooms?
So elementary is going to have art in the classroom, and high school will have art in the art room.
So, and question, I think maybe from a parent, it says, will all the work be on a computer?
So definitely 612 will be using Canvas. I know that was an issue last time where we were using two different student management systems. Done a lot of professional development thanks to Tony this summer, and all of our teachers 612 will be using Canvas. Our elementary will be using Google Classroom. I don't know if everything will be on that. There could potentially be some worksheet work as well, and if somebody's doing that remotely, we will make sure that they have that material.
Okay. If you have two kids, one is in 612 and the other one is in K5, can you still drop both of them off at the same time, let's say 8 a.m.?
Great question, absolutely.
Okay, very good.
And the same door, if you'd like.
Okay. If we are driving our children to school every day, one child is sick, one child's healthy, can the healthy child do virtual learning if, for example, you're unable to drive them to school? And if so, will that affect their attendance?
It will not affect their attendance. What I would suggest, if you know the night before, let us know, because I'd rather have them in school. And people have been wonderful about calling about driving their kids, so our buses are looking pretty good right now. I can tell you very quickly, or our transportation director can tell you very quickly if there's a seat on that bus. So I would recommend you do that. If it's a wake up and feel horrible and you don't have time to call, it's 7 o'clock and your bus comes at 7:05, yeah, they can learn remotely. Just you'd have to call and let us know that, and they would just check in just as they would if they were here. If class starts at 8:07, they would need to be on the computer at 8:07.
Okay, we've got a few student questions.
They're my favorite.
They are my favorite as well. Can 6 through 12 students still have their phones on during lunch? And this student goes and says, sometimes that's when I contact my parents.
I'm going to leave that up to each teacher. I don't think it would be a problem. It's your lunchtime. And if you could have them in the cafeteria, I think most teachers would probably say that's okay to have them on at that point. I'm going to leave that up to each teacher, though.
All right. Very important question, Mr. Connell. Will there be a Spirit Week?
Jeez, that's my first stump.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit Week.
Oh, no, we will have Spirit Week.
I'm sure we will do something.
Yeah.
It probably won't look, I can assure you this, it won't be everybody in the gym and have that big picture with everybody wearing green and gold again. It won't look like that, but I'm sure we'll probably do a lot of spirit activities throughout the year.
All right, cool. So dressing up is going to be okay for Spirit Week?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Masks, of course.
Masked, of course. If a child doesn't feel well and stays home, can they log into remote learning and not get the attendance point or miss anything?
Yeah, I would hope everyone would do that. And last time I mentioned, unless you're gravely ill and just don't feel like getting out of bed, if you feel decent, absolutely get on.
Okay. So, since there is a ban on hand sanitizer on buses, how do middle schoolers get it to school?
We will have we have more sanitizer than we know what to do with. We have gallons and gallons and gallons of sanitizer, so no one needs to bring their own. We will have plenty.
So I think that this parent was curious because it's on the supply list.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I'm not going to have a fourth meet, so if you want to give me a call tomorrow, I can come up with an answer for that. In the back of my mind, I thought I read somewhere where hand sanitizer was not disallowed on buses anymore, just same as the 60% alcohol in the classroom was not. I could be wrong, and I will find that out for you, and if you give me a call, I'll let you know.
Okay. Another student question. How is the playground going to be disinfected, and approximately how long will that take?
So we have these new spray machines that we will spray the entire playground down. It'll sit on there for probably at least 5 minutes. By the time one class gets in and one class gets out, it will do its job. The sanitizer I mentioned last time we're using is a 2 to 3 minute recommended time to sit on anything before anybody touches it. So it'll be completely sprayed down, and then the next group will come.
Well, Mr. Connell, we've reached the end of our list.
No,
Yep,
it's far too early for this.
I know.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I again thank everyone for taking part. I encourage everyone, if you have any questions from this point forward, please call. This one went pretty quick. Maybe people are busy tonight. I may do another one before the opening of school, just for final questions. And like I said, I learn things from you as well. So we may do one. Keep posted on Parent Square, and if we do another one, we will let you know. But again, thank you for coming, and have a great night.